What do you think of when you think of the South? Do you think of country music, jazz music, fried chicken, or even Disney World? I think of the HIV crisis the South is experiencing and has been experiencing for years. In 2015, 52% of all new HIV diagnoses occurred in southern states, even though only 37% of the US population lives in the South. In many southern states, over half of people who are HIV positive and are aware of their status are not receiving the minimum level of care. And in Alabama alone, 72% of HIV positive individuals are not in care. Why is this? Why does the South have the highest rates of HIV, yet the lowest rates of treatment? There are three main reasons: poverty, abstinence-only education, and stigma. And these three areas need to be analyzed and addressed by the South in order for the HIV crisis to end. The South is the poorest region in the United States, and poverty-related issues such as transportation, unstable housing, and food security all prevent individuals from receiving treatment or even getting tested. The South has more families living below the federal poverty line and more children in poverty compared to every other U.S. region. Many people in the South do not have a home to go back to every night. They don't have a car, and they have to worry about what their next meal will be. If you don't have a car, and you don't have access to a bus stop, are you going to get tested? The answer is no. If you have to worry about what your next meal will be, and you have to worry about putting food on the table for your family, are you going to get tested? Once again, the answer is no. And in this case, if you're a woman, you may even sell your body for money, which puts you at an even higher risk of HIV. Another poverty-related issue that prevents access to treatment is access to health care. 2 in 5 Southern residents do not have access to a primary health care provider. If HIV positive, this 40% of the Southern population has two options: Medicaid or the Ryan White Care Act, and neither option is optimal. Medicaid is a federal and state insurance program, but it's disability insurance, not health insurance, which means that they don't cover you until your HIV has progressed to AIDS, and ideally, HIV should be treated way before it progresses to AIDS to ensure survival. Additionally, the South has the most restrictive Medicaid income eligibility, which means that Medicaid is out of reach for many who need it. The Ryan White Care Act is not much more accessible. It provides essential medication for those who are uninsured, but it is under high demand, which means that many states are capping enrollment and cutting back on benefits to save money. A second catalyst of the HIV crisis in the South is abstinence-only education. Many states in the South don't require sex education at all, and those that do require that abstinence before marriage be stressed and strongly emphasized. Abstinence-only education severely limits a student's knowledge of contraception, HIV, and STDs, which puts one at high risk for HIV infection. Condoms prevent the spread of HIV and many STDs, so students are not learning how to use them. In fact, students aren't even learning a basic definition of HIV and its associated risks. Studies have shown that abstinence-only education is not effective in preventing teens from having sex, and when teens have sex without knowing the risk of HIV, their chance of acquiring the disease is very high. Their chance of acquiring an STD is also very high, and the STDs gonorrhea, chlamydia, and syphilis all double a person's risk of infection for HIV. Guess which region in the United States has the highest rates of STDs? I'll give you a hint. It's not the North. Stigma is the most disgusting barrier to treatment that we see in both the South and the North. Last year in government class, my teacher asked, "Who knows what day it is?" One student called out World AIDS Day, and the entire class, including my teacher, burst out laughing. I've also heard terms such as "that's AIDS" to refer to something gross. Racism and homophobia are common in the South, and racism, homophobia, abstinence-only education, and religious ideals work together to make individuals, especially young women, afraid to be tested. They would rather live with the disease than be judged by their families and communities, and this is truly terrifying. But although the South has this terrifying issue, they're not talking about it. HIV-positive Timothy Dean from Florida says, "It's not out there. Messages aren't on the billboards, they're not at the bus stops, no messages here," end quote. The only thing you'll find there is silence. It is up to us to end the silence. With better transportation, increased funding for Medicaid and the Ryan White Care Act, more free health clinics that are equipped to deal with HIV, an improved sex education curriculum, and increased awareness about the issue, The HIV crisis in the South can and will end. It is up to us, the future of America, to see this through. Thank you.